Welcome back. Reps and Real Talk, episode 2. We're sticking to it. Thank you for the response to episode 1. A little bit shocked, to be honest, because we just jumped on and talked a load of shit, but it was really positive and really, really happy to receive that. So we're going to continue going, and we're going to try and bring like kind of a structure to each episode moving forward, and a sort of a topic loosely. We're not just going to dive in and deep dive on something, but we're going to go loosely over some topics and stuff. So today's episode, I think it's very fitting considering it is the start of the season, really. And I'm sure a lot of you guys who are going to be watching this, guys and girls, sorry, you're going to be watching this are either just starting into prep, or you've got a prep looming ahead, or potentially thinking about a prep. So we want to kind of talk about competition season, moving into prep, sort of start off with kind of like your first prep and things you should consider. So I'll throw it over to Sam, and I'll ask the question of a little bit actually about like, because it's not too many years ago that Sam did his first prep. Mine's ancient history. So I'll get into that a little bit in a while, but I'll ask Sam a little bit about his first prep, his thoughts and what he learned from it.
Yeah, exactly. So as many know, I was still with Darren. So my first prep with Darren, it was extremely eye-opening to understand what hunger was really. It was like, yeah, that was going back in time. It was a suffer. It was a big suffer. Never experienced waking up hungry with hunger cramps or sitting there looking at vending machines with awe. That's going back time. I was working 12-hour shifts as well. Remember, I think I was working down Southampton or London. I think I was on the trains working shifts.
I think it was a bit of both. I think you started in Southampton, then moved into London.
Yeah. So I was traveling involved. Yeah, that was hellish. But it's really, really, really made you respect anybody who dieted. You kind of it always looked cool, but I think the biggest takeaway you got from it was anybody that's ever completed a prep, you're like, yeah, I get it. I think that was it. It was the main thing I can take away from that prep was finishing and being like, why would I ever want to do that again? And then 4 or 5 times later doing it again. It was just that it was never experiencing hunger like that before and having to control it, knowing that you can eat, but you aren't going to eat. If that makes sense.
That's part of the what makes it brilliant though, because it's human nature that we like to overcome things and feel good about it. So hard prep like sucks when you're in it, but when you do it, you're like, I did that. And you know that many people can't. I think something to get across to people as well is expectations of your first prep. Like for most, I'm not going to say for everyone, but for most, you shouldn't be going into it expecting you're going to be, I'm going to be going for my pro card or anything. You should be just going into it looking to experience it and learn about it, just be present in it. Because the reality is, I would say, I'm just going to throw a number at it. 75% of people who do their first prep are not going to do it perfectly. You will cheat your diet. You will fuck up. And that's part of it. Like, oh man, I definitely didn't. I did not just in my first prep, many of my earlier preps. Fucked up my diet and stuff. And that's part of it as well. And it's learning that, experiencing it. And that's part of you can only get things right by getting it wrong and then looking at the process and going, why did this happen? And moving from there. I don't think anyone should feel bad if you cheat your diet. But the main thing is, like, if you're working with a coach and you cheat your diet, don't hide it from them. Just tell them.
Definitely. Also, it's kind of like, I think it's a good thing is like, it's not hitting the fuck it button as well whenever you diet. Because I literally had this conversation with a client yesterday. It was when the gym, and it's like, the worst thing is whenever something happened, all of a sudden you're like, well, I fucked up now. And you kind of like, and it's like midday and you're like, well, I can carry on going. It's the best thing it teaches you is when you don't hit the fuck it button, you're like, okay, I fucked up. Back on plan. That's it. Back on plan. Shouldn't have happened. You aren't ignoring what happened, but you're having the mature response to be like, I need to get back on plan. I know that this is set in place. I know this is going to work. I know that just hitting because I'm like, oh, well, I'm eating a chocolate bar now. Might as well eat something else. Is going to end up in a worse result. Not even physically, but mentally as well. Because that means you know in the future that do something.
The other thing there that you touch on is just get back on plan. Don't try and make up for your fuck up either. I see that over and over again. Someone cheats their diet and they're like, right, I'm just going to go 0 carb tomorrow and do an hour's cardio. Yeah. You're just going to make yourself cheat your diet again.
Exactly. And then that leads on to maybe doing more drugs. So like more cardio, more drugs, less input. body's going to be knackered mentally. But when you take the food away, you're taking away like the mental capacity to be able to fight off the hunger as well. The more hungry you become, the less strength you'll have to be able to not cheat again. And it just becomes this massive negative feedback back loop where you get back on plan, cheat, back on plan, cheat. And then by
It's
the end,
that
yeah.
binge restrict cycle, which can lead to actual issues
Massive
around food.
disorders.
Like there is a lot of negativity within bodybuilding with developing eating disorders, and it comes from that. But if people were a bit more honest with themselves and their coaches and understood the process a little bit better, that you don't have to do that. If you cheat your diet, it's pretty fucking normal. Don't try and make up for it, because that's what's creating this binge restrict process.
It's also hiding it, but it's that the hiding it is the worst thing, because then I think having yourself accountable to you, your coach, even your friends, your partner, is one of the best ways to stay on plan. Just the accountability to be like, yeah, no, I fucked up there. And people will start watching out for you more as well. It's when you hide it and then try and compensate, and then your coach is like, oh wow, kind of like, it's like, you've dropped 3 kilos in like 3 days. Like, what have you done? This is incredible. We don't really, you know what I mean? It's kind of like, and then all this stuff and all the picture that you're looking at, the coach doesn't know what's going to go on, which will then put you in an unhealthier position. I think that's where it goes to. It's kind of like when the coach doesn't know what's going on behind the scenes, so he thinks what either his plan's going wrong or his plan's going right. He doesn't know because you haven't been honest at all. And I think that's as dangerous.
Coach if the input is being discussed. You know, you can only make decisions on what's in front of you. You can't make they're not mind readers. They can't tell what's going on. So like they're making decisions based on taking you at your word, you know, and obviously what they're seeing in front of them.
What's your thought processes for a first-time bodybuilder coming into it, not using much gear, but wanting to start off the bat using retatrutide to start off? What's your thoughts on that?
It's the thoughts are varying depending on the person, because like you said, I think part of the learning curve is being able to experience the hunger and going through the process. And I don't think if you go through that process, you'll ever, I kind of compare it to, I'm going to take this back to rugby. You know, you probably grew up with those kids who were overly developed at an early age, right? And they were able to just run through everyone with no skill, but they didn't develop that skill set to take them further. So you see those people who are highly advanced early on don't make it all the way because they don't develop the skill sets that they need to go further, because eventually people catch up. And I kind of compare it to that if you go straight off using something like retatrutide, you don't learn the skill sets there, you're missing out on part of the process and the skill set required. That being said, there is going to be cases where it could be plugged in, and I think in a male bodybuilder or whatever, you're probably looking at extreme hunger. And like anyone listening to this, if you're hungry, you should be fucking hungry. Extreme hunger to where the point it is impacting on sleep and recovery that is negative to the process and actually going to hinder you getting in shape, then yes, something like retatrutide could be a very beneficial tool to go in. But you also have to make sure that this person is ticking all the other boxes there. You know, are they prioritizing their sleep? Are they prioritizing their meal timings? These sort of things, because that's the skill set I'm talking about. Because if they're not getting those things right, they're never learning that those things need to be right. And inevitably it's going to push them down the line.
Massively. I was having this thought the other day. This is my first time using it in competition prep. Wow, what a difference. But I was looking back and being like, I am blessed that all of my other preps we've had together, you really respect the suffer, but also I think you learn little things. You learn how important it is for meal timings, prepping food, having the veg in with your food, what veg are you going to have, water timings, sleep timings. I think having that stuff and earning the right or the stripes to be able to use something like that really will help you even better as an athlete, as a coach, if you want to be a coach. It gives you a broader understanding. Because that's the way I was thinking. I was like, I wouldn't never want to use it with somebody just because it's their first time. But I think people need to know what it's like to suffer, not because I want them to suffer. No, it's the opposite. What you find through hardship and adversity, people become better people, kinder, more thoughtful, more understanding, empathetic through that adversity. So it's like being not mean to be kind in a way.
Yeah, and I think like you mentioned there, this is your first time prepping, using it, right? And obviously, okay, previous preps we've done, it wasn't something that was available or on the cards,
Yeah.
but we have done multiple preps together to understand, like, you are someone who nails the process, right? You do everything from food, recovery, like anyone listening to Sam does like sauna and stuff every day. He's on point with his cardio, always, like, never misses a beat and never has missed a beat that way. But, you know, I'm sure you'll hold your hands up and say the hunger really gets to you in prep, and has done, and has affected your mental capacity, like in a big way, like stress, like we've had preps where you've come to blows with me a little bit, like, you know, where you get a little antsy and a
Yeah.
little bit crabbing over things. And it's an area of your prep process that this allows us to make that better and inevitably make you a better athlete. And that's why we plugged it in.
Yeah.
It's not,
100%.
oh, Reddit available, we're going to throw it in with Sam. It's actually, this is an area within his prep process that he very
Yeah.
much struggled at times. And it's not due to adherence. It's not due to his routine. It's just the way it is. You also must recognize that Sam is someone who eats a shit ton of food and in his off season, like to the point where we can't really get a huge amount more in. So he is someone who requires a lot of food, but also when he diets, it does have to go pretty low in comparison to where it is in his off season.
I think we're utilizing it, and to be honest, I think the last reason we're utilizing it is for the hunger reasons. It was just like with me, because I was having the thought process. I would have done this prep without it. If you told me not to do it, I would have done it without it. It wasn't like I really want to do it. I was like, okay, this is why. I had really good reasons why. I would have been, you know what I mean? It's like, this is fantastic. Yes, yes. It's like insulin says that, and we've seen the difference in me as well. And I think the biggest thing, which I can't reiterate enough, as like you mentioned earlier, was the stress of, I'm still eating all my meals. We aren't on much at all, right? It's like a milligram or something, but there's no stress about the food. I still get hungry. I'm still, every meal I'm on it. I'm cooking my meals. I'm still eating them, but there's no like stress about it, which makes the day so nice. It's just so, like, even I'm tired. I mean, the past 2 days I felt crap. I haven't got aggy with any body at all. I haven't got ratty. I haven't got angry, especially at the misses, which is the best thing. Is the ones you love will always get the brunt of it. The most, no matter how much you love them, no matter how much you don't want, they're going to get the brunt of it. And with Rose, has been actually the opposite. I think I've actually been a bit more chill. Like, it's been lovely. It's like utilizing it for this reason. After doing all the hard work, I think has been perfect. We've done 4 preps together, so
Yeah. There's a couple of things I want to touch on here from that. First one is we have discussed the timeline of use with it as well. I think this is something that should be disclosed here is with Sam's prep, we will be pulling the red out about 4 weeks out from show, because there's been several amounts of anecdotal data across, like, that I have seen with clients using it. And remember, other members of J3U coaching have seen with multiple athletes, is the actual prep process. With the slowing of gastric emptying can affect then the ability of uptake of glycogen moving forward. And large amount of athletes have struggled with the look on stage, with this more like flatter, softer look and not inevitably as hard. You know, and I've seen it with athletes. I'm looking at it and going, their body weight last time on stage was this. And now slightly lighter. They've got more muscle. They should be in better condition, but they're not looking it. And the only variable is different is this. Now, this is anecdotal data, but there's enough of it there for me to think, right, this is something it's very valuable to use at this process of prep, but we do need to, or we do want to pull it out and give enough time to allow the body post using it to peak for shows. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention here was Sam touched on the stress levels within prep. And there's another kind of variable here that's very different in this prep to our previous ones. And I always look at I look back at all of our prep process and I look at our first prep, absolutely brilliant, super smooth. Yeah, there was a couple of little blips in terms of adherence and things like that here and there, but not much, which is, you're going to get, as I said, first prep. You got on stage and absolutely smashed it in first timers and novice, won pretty much everything, right? First year.
Yeah.
The one caveat to that was first timers and novice within classic, there was no weight cap. As we progressed into the further years and had a weight cap, which wasn't easy for him to make, and it definitely bared on your mind for the long part of the prep, and it created another level of stress and anxiety, big, like, you know, you're constantly checking in every week and it's like, oh my God, I'm so far away from the weight cap. I'm going to get there, all this. You know, we made it to stage every time, but I'll be perfectly honest. I still think to this day, his best prep was his very first one without the weight cap. And I think it was the stress and anxiety factor around it And now we're moving
100%.
in. We made the decision this year moving in, and we're going to go into open bodybuilding. Sam's very much outgrown classic now, but I think it's going to make this process a whole lot better. And we're seeing it already.
Yeah. Well, like literally, yeah. So like I will complete our first prep together was the best because of that. And it's something the upside to going from that into worrying about weight is now I feel I can give good advice to a lot of people about it. I'm like, stress every single prep, no matter how well you, it's not to do with your coaching, it's always do with my mindset. Every day I stress about making weight, no matter what you could tell me, no matter what, no matter how many times we made weight, the worry was not making weight. On our last prep, because my scales were different in Edinburgh to Dumfries at home, the weighing differently, my fear became reality because I thought I was one way, sleeping at work, and then going home, losing weight at home. And it was kind of like, it was always on my mind every day, being like, I need to make sure I get weight. So I'd stress, cortisol go up, weight would go up. Weight would go up, get stressed, think I need to do more stuff. So in my head, and then I'm like, Darren's going to think I'm cheating on my diet. He's going to be thinking this. So I'm starting to stress. And it's just this feedback loop of just hell upon hell upon hell. And I think the best thing to happen was those scales being different. Because I got down to Maidenhead, didn't make weight, and I'm like, I'm done with classic. I'm done with this. I was like, I can't be bought. I lost the love for just lifting weights and diet and doing. I only compete
But
because I love lifting weights.
you also went to the heavy. Was it the heavyweight class?
Yeah.
Yeah. You also went into the heavyweight class and did very well. So it's kind of that's another sign to, yeah, let's move this direction.
Yeah, definitely. The whole thing is because I was having this conversation again recently. It was about sometimes people won't let go of the classic. They're that obsessed about being classic that they lose sight of everything else. They lose sight of the enjoyment of the whole point. We all compete is because we love training. So my biggest emphasis is never give up that enjoyment of training. Don't give that up. Don't give it up because you want to keep making weight, because you want to be classic. Because if that happens, I've seen it so many times. It becomes people either stop bodybuilding or they become hateful about it and resentful because there's that restriction of not having enjoyment to train. And you kind of like, and with me, it was getting that way. And the past 16 months off season's been an absolute struggle with food, of course, but in my head has been fucking the best time ever. Lifting weights, no restrictions, and we didn't really get fat. With the no restrictions didn't mean that we just push food and push drugs. Like it wasn't that at all. I think it was the healthiest, most productive, chillest off season I've ever had. Like,
Yeah.
and everything shows. Like muscle tissue was good. It solidified, barely any injuries. They healed. So just because we had no restrictions doesn't mean that it looked unrestricted, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that brings up a very interesting point and a topic for us to discuss, and I'll give a good take home here for anyone looking at this that's kind of in that position. Because I know classic's a hugely popular class and guys want to do it, but I also see many, many guys holding their physiques back and also actually regressing their physiques to force themselves into classic. Now, if you're looking at going early on, you're looking at doing classic, great, maybe if you're fitting into the weight, but as soon as you start having to lose muscle tissue to get into that class, you might want to reconsider where you're going. And yeah, it might seem daunting to move into bodybuilding because inevitably you're going to be too small initially, but long term, you're going to be better off taking a year to 2 years off season and going into the class that where your body is wanting to go. At the end of the day, guys, it is bodybuilding. At any point that we are regressing our physique to get out of class, that's not bodybuilding anymore. That's dieting and muscle wastage.
It's just losing sight of the reason we do it as well. And I think it becomes unhealthier because like trying to get somebody in the off season lean, try and make them make weight. It's just like, it's like, what do you have to do to make them make weight? And I think you'll know as a pro, I don't want to say, but you'll know as a pro what some of the guys have to do. And you're like, respect it.
And okay, there's a small caveat to that, to what some of these guys, like I've seen that on the Olympia, like there was like 14 guys at the Olympia this year, didn't initially make weight, had to go off and do all sorts of things to get on stage. There's a caveat to it. If you are going for top 10 in the world, then maybe it is worth trying to do it for. But like you're never seeing now a number of guys, like I think yours jumping out of the class this year, which he potentially could have won that Olympia. I personally think he would have. I know a number of people won't, they won't agree, but he was definitely pushing for that Olympia title, but made the decision going, I am just suffering and I am killing my physique to get into this class. And that's a very brave decision to move into a whole new class where he's so brave. I mean, all the way from it where he was in terms of, placings, but that, I think a lot of people should look at that and go, okay, you know, that's probably what I should be doing if I'm in that situation.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. So that's my thing. It's kind of like, when it's taken away from the enjoyment and the love of just lifting weights, it's kind of like it's going to lead to negative feedback. And I've seen it within myself, though. Honestly, it's been absolutely fantastic this off season. As the leanest off season we've had, which is like crazy with all this stuff, not having to worry without the stress. At the weekend there, weight went up slightly by one day over the weekend. Weight fluctuates. And honestly, for the first time, I was like, I don't care. Like, it went up by half a kilo. It's kind of like,
All your process is your weight does not matter now.
no,
Your weight doesn't matter.
if my weight goes up over prep, I'd actually be happy if it does, because I might be bigger on stage. Like, it's actually the opposite now. I'm kind of like, if I can stay the same weight or get bigger, perfect. Like,
Yeah,
as long as I'm getting leaner.
You were 4 kilo down, I'd be like, fuck. Whereas if it was your classic days, I'd be like, sweet, we're getting further ahead of where we need to be.
Yeah, exactly. Which is a massive breath of fresh air. I also know that I'm new to open, so I'm not expecting much in the off season, except in the prep, except for I'm going to show up my best. Where I place, I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going to show up, but I'm actually really looking forward to it, because I know it's going to be the smoothest going into it. It's going to have to be no worrying about making weight. Travel's going to be fine. The Scottish season this year looks amazing, though. I think the Scottish federations have really done themselves a massive service. People like Granite City, £1,000 prize money, got a Claymore sword as well. Like, insane, really setting that standard. And what's cool is, I still say the best show I've ever done is Sweden. Gas Sweden. They care for the athletes. Backstage is insane. The quality of food, the production value, the team of people, like, just everything about it was amazing.
Photography, all sorts of things there. It's ridiculous. That's one of
How
the,
much
like,
stuff?
I've been into many pro shows. There's not many shows come close to that Sweden show. So any amateurs out there looking to do a good pro qualifier and want a good experience, highly recommend. But
I recommend it enough.
that kind of brings on to another topic, like, with show season, it's picking your shows and picking your federations. Now, obviously, if you've done a couple of shows and you've done well and your goal is pro card, you're like, this year I want to be going for a pro card. And by that, I mean, you're looking to be placing sort of top 3 in your class as a pro qualifier. It's you pretty much there, right? On any given day, you could have won that class. But if you're a little further away from that, you know, you should be going and looking at shows that are going to give you a good experience, a good run out. And I think we had this discussion the other day, and looking at things like, before it used to be like, and I'm going to bring this to the UK. So before it used to be, right, let's not talk about pro card until we can win the overall at a regional. I don't know, is that the case anymore? Like,
No, I think
guys winning overalls at regionals this year not come anywhere near a pro card are free, because there's so many regionals, and I honestly don't think there's a huge amount of people entering them. I actually think for guys like within classic and bodybuilding, you're probably more looking at like having a good run, a good season in the PCA and doing very well there. That's probably your stepping stone now within the UK, really.
yes,
I don't know,
definitely.
maybe I'm wrong. I know I'm not
I
in,
also
but that's kind of what I see looking from the outside in.
Yeah, definitely. And I think like, I've had a good time at Two Bros. Every show would be good. The downside is the expense. Like, that's not going to lie. The expense of how much it costs for travel, usually all the way down, usually down in Maidenhead and so on and so forth. I also think having supporting little local shows, the competition can be really, really good, but the enjoyment and the understanding of stage time, stage presence, knowing how to pose, you pay less money, get a lot more personalized feedback from the judges or the people that are there to then take back. And then the progression with it. There's no federation that's below anybody. And I think that's something that I've learned myself. I've only ever done NPC, never done anything else. And I wasn't feeling, I didn't think I thought elitist, but it might have been an elitist type of thought process. It's like, there's no federation below anybody. And I think you should enjoy the federations for what they are and what they're worth. PCA, incredible what they do with the athletes, really, really good as well. Good production value. NABA, when I was there with my client last year, the people there were just the loveliest, friendliest people, would do anything for anybody. Same at all these other shows. And usually the prizes they have are insane as well. Better qualities, cooler swords, better trophies, prize money, like the Scottish season this year with all the prize money that's coming into it. And these are all the smaller shows, not even the big shows. Like two bros now, it's a disc with holes in it.
Yeah.
I must say it, it's a pretty crap. It's pretty crap winning a disc with holes in it for somebody that's won an overall. That's a big deal winning an overall. The old swords are really, really cool, but they were still only small. Like, I think, yeah, it's kind of like I wouldn't be happy with that. Well, I would be because you win an overall. It's a bit stupid for me to say that, but
I get
all these small.
for a lot of people, I think it really depends on what your purpose is in within bodybuilding. Because listen, there is lots of guys out there bodybuilding that their goal isn't to turn pro. They're doing it because they enjoy it, they want to compete.
Yes.
And then you got to look at the fun factor with it. Like I think going down the two bros route really is your goal is pro. You know, as part of the process, you got to get there. And we must give credit where credit's due. Is, you know, two bros give a huge opportunity for that. They put on lots of shows throughout the year, so there's ample opportunity for people to do the regional whenever they want, and to line up with any pro qualifier they want to go to. So it is part of the process, and it brings that's the value that show brings.
Yes.
Now, I think other federations, they inevitably have to do a little bit more for the athlete experience because they don't have that carrot at the end of the stick that the two bros have. So it is more gauged around the fun factor, the enjoyment experience. And that's brilliant. I think people have to look at that side of things. I actually thought it was really cool this year to see someone, you know, was Lewis Widgery step away from, he had his IFBB pro card, gave it a couple of goes there. Wasn't like, he's honest with himself, like, I'm not going to be a top level pro. You know, what is the point in me spending huge amounts of money traveling to pro shows, not getting a look in? But he loves bodybuilding. And it is amazing that he still has an opportunity to just go and compete and love bodybuilding with another federation. That is awesome. But I think there's lots of people like online at the moment, it's either or, and it's like, wow, this one's shit, that one's shit. They all have a place. We should just be like, it is fucking cool that we have so many opportunities for every level. It's so inclusive.
Massive. You've got opportunities for people at a small level around counties, and that. The whole thing is like, I think it's when people forget the reason they bodybuild is because they enjoy training, and I think that's the enjoyment of the gym should be the thing that brings everybody together. There's nobody below any show. I think Lewis doing PCA, I think he really saw. I think he used to think the elitist way of just NPC, and then went to it, and he's like, oh wow, this is NPC is amazing. Having your pro card, I mean, pro cards, fucking the pinnacle. But it is at the level you can have fun within the industry. The industry is massive. It's not just one thing. And it might be a social media thing. Everyone's funneled into being like, I want to turn pro. I want to turn pro. With you never wanted to turn pro. It happened because you kept on showing up and you loved training.
Right. Shows my age here. When I started bodybuilding, there actually wasn't an opportunity to turn pro within Ireland. There was no opportunity to turn pro. But I never thought process. Like my goal was like, oh, it'd be cool to win NABA Mr. Ireland someday. That was my personal goal, you know. Then I moved to the UK, and it was UK BFF at the time, and it was go to the British finals. That was my own goal, was like, oh, it'd be cool to go to the British finals. You know, I managed to do that. Didn't do well or anything, but, you know, and then I just continued bodybuilding for years, and it just kind of happened years down the line that, you know, just kept doing it and ended up in the pro, loving it, and, you know,
kept on showing up, man. Kept on showing up, kept on winning the gym. The whole thing is, I think when the obsession,
it was never a goal. I never had that goal. I think I always struggle when people ask me about like the goals within this and doing that. And I'm like, I'm not like a lot of other guys who I compete against in the pro league, where it's like they've, you know, their goal was to turn pro. Their goal was to get to the Olympia. And it's like, the goal is to try and win this. Never had goals like that. And just always just did it, enjoyed it. And obviously when I go to a show, I want to do well at it because it's a sign of validation of the hard work you've done. I don't want to show up on stage and totally miss my peak and look shit. It's not really about the placing. I want to turn up a show and do well and be happy with the look.
To be able to look back and be like, I've done that, and that's exactly what I'm like this year as well. My whole thing is like, I don't know when I'm going to turn up. I know that I'm going to look good. I just want to be on stage and be like, I just miss that feeling walking out on stage and hitting the poses and the quarter turns. That excitement again with zero pressure. The whole thing is kind of like, I don't know how I'm going to place. It doesn't matter though. The enjoyment, the whole point is I want to make this season enjoyment. I've had so many people ask me if I'm going to do Two Bro Scotland. And I'm like, I'll do it another year. I'll do it another year. My goal was, and I want to do all the Scottish shows, whatever Scottish shows I can. People keep on asking me about what shows. Don't know yet. It depends. The first one's 6.5 weeks away, I think. If I'm ready, I'm ready. If I'm not, I'm not. Then that's the upside. There's even less pressure.
But you said something there, posing, right? Posing. Guys, first-time competitors, people newer in the sport, get your pose right. And by that, I don't mean going to work with one of these posing coaches who's just doing fancy posing routines. This is, some people might not like me for this. Your posing routine means fuck all at the end of the day. It's not judged. You know what's judged?
Means
Your
nothing.
mandatory. So practice your mandatories, and if you
100%.
love posing and you want to have a cool routine, by all means go for it, but don't put all your eggs in that basket. Your goal should be to be able to nail your mandatories, hold your mandatory, and that's how you will do well.
I don't think that's funny. Me and you have never spoken about that before, but I 100% on the same page as that. I've had people mention it to me. I'm like, your posing routine, you can wing it. It doesn't matter. What literally matters, what is the first pose a judge sees? Your front relax. Second pose, you side relax. Like, that's what matters. When you're standing next to somebody and you're holding your own and you're standing there, that's all they care about. It's all the judges are marking you against. That's it.
I have never in all my shows practiced a posing routine. Never.
I was never. I know. I think I think some people really enjoy that, and I'm like, that's class. It's really, really good how you enjoy it. But what I find in posing routines, you never learn how to hit a pose properly because all you're thinking about is the transition. So you actually, if you go from your posing routine and learning mandatories, it's harder to pose that way. I find if you go get the mandatories nailed, and the rest will come. That's all I've been trying to do is get my mandatories nailed. That's all I do. I've been thinking about a posing routine right now. Because if you can hit a side relax better than the guy next to you, you're going to look better. You're going to beat him in that shot. That's all that matters. So I think people will overcome it. I couldn't agree with that more massively.
It's all about the posing routine. Terrence would be Mr. Olympia.
You would be Mr. Olympia years ago. Yeah, every year. He has got the best posing. Is unbelievable.
Yeah. And he loves it, but he doesn't neglect the other stuff. That guy works on his mandatories like every day nearly. So he doesn't neglect the other stuff. But a lot of these guys who are coming into sport now, I see them going to posing coaches, and I've had a couple of clients go, well, I'm working on my posing coach. I'm working on my routine. I'm like, have you worked on your mandatories? No, not yet. I'm like, work on those first.
First and foremost, 100%. Because with my clients, if I see them in person, the only thing I run them through is mandatories. And to be honest, it's only the first quarter turns to begin with. I'm like, I don't care about the other poses. The first poses I want you to nail. If you can nail your front, side, and back relax, then we can move on. All those skills are transferable to all the other shots. If you can't get those shots right, there's no point in moving forward. I'm just going to confuse you with foot positioning now. If you get those 4 shots right, you're on to a winner. Then we can move on because all little things you can move into other places. So I'm like that as well. I'm like, you get these nailed. If I'm in with you and we're in the posing room, we're doing these 4 poses and that's it until you're good at them.
Yeah. God, and I think there's a lot for guys to think about now, starting off, going into their first prep season and stuff. It's cool that there's all the information out there, but I also think that there's a whole lot of there, and it's quite overwhelming. When I did my first show, and I didn't even know what posing was. I didn't even know how to diet properly. I had no macros, no meal plan. I just ate good. And by good, I mean I just cut off.
Well, the funny thing is, even though, so with my first show, I think you'll remember this. You told me to order my posing trunks. I was doing classic. I accidentally ordered open trunks. Was it on? So even with a coach, I fucked up. I think I had to go out to, what was it? It was Sports Direct and get boxer briefs. What's that shitty brand with the panther on it? Begins with S.
Oh.
You know what? Yes, I literally had to get briefs that weren't even posing trunks. I was on stage in my underwear, literally my underwear, while everybody else had posing trunks on and that.
Oh, yeah, it was the classic where the trunks were a little bit bigger as well, weren't they? It wasn't even the new ones.
Yeah, you're like, what the fuck were you thinking? I'm like, I wasn't thinking.
Oh, man, funny times.
And that was fun. And that I was funny that I can remember that because I was like, I had no idea what the fuck to do at all. I was in London. I was traveling to the other side of London that day. I think it was for registration, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing now. Because I was a prep, a deer in the headlights, being like, I have no idea. And you're like, go and get some underwear or something.
One of the classes.
Yeah, I beat folk in my underwear. That was funny. That. Do you have any stories from your first prep then that you remember?
All I remember from my first prep was I had actually I hadn't been bodybuilding that long, maybe only 6 months. And I started by initially just dieting with, it was like anyone who's listens has been only might remember Grenade J Alderton. He had a challenge thing he was running, and they gave you a plan and you just dieted. And I did that. I did a photo shoot. And then I was just in the gym one day and some guy was like, oh, you should, there's a show on in Limerick, which is like the next county over, in like 3 weeks. And I was like, oh yeah, cool. I'll do that. So I had no coach, no nothing, no idea what posing was. And all I did was just like, I was just eating like chicken salads and avocado. And that was it pretty much. And like, I was so clueless that it was like, you know, if I was hungry, I'd just have an egg white omelet on top of that, you know? So there was some days my protein could have been like 300,
500.
350, and other days it was like 250 because I was hungry. I didn't eat egg whites, thinking that was fine, you know? I
Yeah.
got in pretty deep in shape when I went to this show, not a clue how to do anything. Was stepped on stage and I placed like third in like, was it classic bodybuilding? I think it was called then or something. I can't remember what it was. And then afterwards, some guy who was at the show was like, oh, he was like, listen, I can give you a hand. He trained in a gym that was in Cork near me. So he was like, come back and I'll teach you some things. I went there and I trained with him. And then a couple of weeks later, I did like Mr. Cork and I won the under 75 kilo bodybuilding. That's show you how small I was. And then that was my first, I just did those two shows kind of back to back. But it was,
And how
I
heavy?
just
How heavy did you get?
just remember being so overwhelmed. Like I remember being at the registration and just like I remember seeing some guys' calves were just like dick skin. I was like, what the fuck is that? You know, I had no
How
clue.
heavy
I
are
was
you now, Steve?
it was 100% natural as well for these. I didn't know what steroids were. So I didn't have a clue. So like when I was seeing these like guys who were fucking huge and dick skin, I'm like, what the fuck is this? Oh,
Well, that's placing that well against that as well is a cool indication of where you've come from with it as well, though.
yeah. Unfortunately, that show, that under 75 kilo bodybuilding show, was the last show I won until I turned pro.
At least you had one win, so you know what it felt like. You're like, I want to get that feeling one more time.
It didn't get a whole lot better for a long time.
Uh,
I'm
is
not
there
one of
anything
those
that
guys
you?
amazing rise to the top who like just won loads of shows. My whole middle period was like, you know, I didn't do very well at all. I was a very average bodybuilder, you know, and
It's
average
mad.
is probably nice.
Yeah, it's mad the drastic change. I don't think if people don't follow you on social media, the drastic difference in you was one of the biggest things that made me come to you as a coach as well. I remember you putting up the comparison, and I was just like, "Fuck off! You did not used to look like that." Compared to now, was a different person, completely different person. Like you look
Yeah,
at you
like
back then, and you would not have thought you would have been a pro IFBB pro Olympia qualified. Like you would not have thought that, and that's a compliment to you and your work ethic. Mad
and that's all
compliment.
it
Like
was.
I saw that.
It was every year I bodybuilded. I just had this desire to learn more and get better. I think from a sporting background, anything I do, I don't want to be shit at anything to do. Like if I was to take up fucking tennis, I used to play tennis, but wrong. If I was to take up tennis tomorrow, I couldn't just be average. I would need to just do everything in my power to just get better. And that was what I was like with bodybuilding. The longer I did it, the more I learned, because I'm from a generation and within bodybuilding where it's not like the guys today where all the information is there. So it was like every year I was learning more about how to be a good bodybuilder, how to train properly, and how to like actually go into like all in on training and stuff. Because it was like I was training pretty hard, but then I learned by meeting people and through training with others what really training to failure was, and you know what dieting really was. And it was like just every year just stacking on top and over. And then it's the same. Like I look back on my coaching process as well. My coaching has been the same. It's like every year has just been like just getting better and better and better and learning more and more and more. So it's like I didn't just become an Olympian overnight, and I didn't just become an Olympian level coach overnight either. It was a process. And I look back and I can look back 5-6 years and go, Jesus Christ, what was I doing? Why was I telling people to do that? But that's the
But the
way
whole thing is, it's a prime
wanting to
example of
get
just
better.
showing up and being consistent. Showing up and being consistent is one of the best ways. Is the best way
And
and guaranteed way to improve.
being open to learn. So I think
Yes.
I don't care who's in the room with me or who I'm training with. I will always shut up and listen if they have something to say. I don't care what level they're at, you know, and I think some people are very elitist in that way. Like, you know, there could be a guy in a gym and he's like, you know, he's won some shows and he won't listen to the guy next to him because he's like, oh, I've won more shows than him. But that guy might know more, or he
Yeah.
might know, not even, might know something you don't know yet. So I've always been wanting to learn and never shutting down something that even if I don't believe in it, even if I'm like, oh, really? I'll always listen and go, okay, actually, no, that's a bad enough point.
Yeah. I always find that even, or somebody could describe something to you that you've never heard described that way. You're like, that makes sense. Yeah, you're right. You know, it's like, fuck, I've been wrong all this time. It's good. I think that you can always learn of something. What you'll find, you'll listen. A lot of people do talk rubbish, but the upside to listening and at least giving them time is at least you'd be like, okay, well, that's not right there. But
But
I think
you also find someone could chat rubbish for 40 minutes and they might have 2 minutes within that 40 minutes. That's fucking gold. You know, because I watch and I listen to other areas within this industry as well, like sports specific training, sports like these sort of things, biomechanical. And there's a lot you can take away from that. Like you might be going, they're talking about performance based, but you're like, actually that might translate well into what we're doing. So let's look at how we can incorporate that. So it's, you know, it's not just being honed in on like, no, I only listen to bodybuilders. It's like there's various other people within this specific industry that actually it can translate to bodybuilding as well.
I completely, yeah. Like moving that is a thing that I've learned maybe over the past year, that taking exercises that use in like strength and conditioning stuff to help like strengthen the lower back. You get that lower back strengthened up, all your big lifts are going to get up. All your big lifts are going to go up, you're going to get denser. You're kind of like, oh, okay, if I can use a bit of the knowledge they have, but we know that with like deadlifts and squat patterns, we know if we get big and stronger that we get denser. So we can use it. I completely agree. I think I don't think I'm an expert in other fields, but listening. I think listening in other fields and having an interest in the whole sport is really helpful.
One of the biggest things that helped me, so like if anyone knows me, I used to have a very good back. My back was my weakest body part, and it's developed a lot over the years, but more so in the last couple of years. And one of the biggest changes to that was actually I was lucky enough to have to train with Jordan Shallows, the muscle doc. He owns Prescript, which is it's more movement and biomechanical stuff, and like a lot of the stuff he does is actually with like a lot of the athletes he works with directly are NFL players and NFL prospects. So a different area of sport, but what he did with me within back training made me excel like crazy, looking at different movement, how I'm moving with patterns. And like, that's a primary.
And that transferred to your clients, because one thing that I think has been brought up in me the most is my back. And I think the majority of your clients are known for having good backs.
Yeah. Nobody has a shit back.
Exactly. No, but it's easier to have a shit back than not to have a shit back, is what I mean by that. So even
again, I speak in what I've heard from him and how he analyzes things. I am pretty anal with what I do with like client and semi video work. Is I'm very anal on setup, and I've done breakdown setup initially, and the whole idea around thinking about what you're actually trying to do. Right.
Yes.
This movement isn't just a row. We're trying to hit lower lat. So what are we trying to achieve here? Think about that before you go in there and stuff like this.
So I've had a big dominant upper back, and my lower lats have only just come in, especially over the past year and a half, because we've been able to utilize that 100%. Like I know I you know with the videos that I say no, but I'll look at it myself and I'm like, oh fuck it. I should have filmed myself the other couple of weeks ago and analyzed it. I was like, I know what he's going to say. I'm like, damn it. Fuck.
It's actually particularly hard with a guy like you, because you know, like the guy who's like, I've got a weak back, and they're like, oh, I'm so weak at back and stuff. And they're, you know, it's hard. They're like, I can't. With you, it's different. You're almost too strong, you know, and you can move quite easily. So it's like, right, we got to actually try and make this movement a little harder. My main feedback for Sam always is, let's not be so explosive here. Let's control that eccentric. Like, let's go to 3 seconds back. I want you to pause at both ends of the rep. So it's actually 10 sets of 1 rather than 1 set of 10.
100%. Yeah.
Think about every rep. He doesn't always do it. Sometimes he sends me, and he's like, I'm going to caveat with this with, I just wanted to do 1 set where I just fucking sent it.
Yeah. It's hard. Yeah. It comes back to is like, I think it comes back to being able to have a bit of both in there when you train. And it comes down like, I like the pauses with the science, with understanding why, but then if I've done that all the time, I sometimes get bored. And I'm like, I like just lifting weights sometimes.
The thing is so many people are, it's either or. It actually should be both.
Yes.
Right? Yes. You have to, they're like the super controlled trainers. And I watch some of this, so I'm like, and I've said it to some clients who send me feedback. I'm like, that looks great. Execution's great. but you look like you're showing me a demonstration. Where's the fucking work rate? Right.
Intense, yeah.
So
It's
it's a
intensity as well,
combination
yeah.
of them both. And like, personally, I believe, right, if you take two guys, right, the one who executes the movement pattern perfectly, but looks like they're 10 reps in reserve and don't break a sweat, versus the guy who executes 50, 60%, but absolutely fucking sends it like grip and rip. Guy who sends it grip and rip is going to progress more than the guy who's executing
It,
like that.
but and I think it comes down to, I think there's more enjoyment there. It's, as we know, it is about intensity as well. It's about not being too much of an idiot, but you need to. The guys that look the best are the ones that just rip it and grip it. Sometimes have some fun, throw it about. It just gives a really,
Well,
it makes
when I
muscles look
did it,
nice and round as well.
for me, when I did it, right, there was a couple of years, but where I like reset everything. I'm like, right, I need to learn the movement pattern. Learn the movement patterns that they're ingrained in your brain. Then when you don't have to think about what you're doing, that it's natural, the sort of rip it part of it comes into there pretty comfortably.
Yes.
The problem is too many people are trying to just like go, they're like trying to get stronger and heavier and heavier and heavier. They're not really doing the movement at all. They're just shifting weight. But once you get the pattern down, learn the pattern, brain the pattern, that you don't have to think about it, that it's like brushing your teeth, then you can really get strong at it. And then it becomes fun. So inevitably there's a small period there where you have to kind of suck it up and move less weight and learn the pattern, actually learn the skill. Kind of like driving a car. You can't just go and drive 100 miles an hour or the day you pass your driving test. You got to put in that little bit of work first, and then you can, really go.
I think understanding the target muscle is like when you were saying before, what am I actually trying to work? And what I find is, what I tell my clients and me is, when you can feel that muscle, your progression is so much faster than you think. But you have to pull the weight down to progress on. As a step backwards, a step backwards, two steps forward, you have to pull it back slightly. But as soon as you start feeling that, like me with my side delts, I've always had a bit of a struggle with it. But recently, the connection is mental. But because of the pullback, because of the patience with it, then I can just then the ripping and gripping and having some fun. I think I was doing some dumbbell side raises, like 28 kilos, but I only felt it in my side delts. I loved it. It was one of the best feelings ever. I came off and I'm like, I just felt capped. And I'm like, this is what I loved about the belt. I didn't feel it in my trap. I didn't feel it anywhere else on my pecs or nothing, because we had the pullback and then the push up with it. But,
Yeah.
it's keeping the funness there as well. We all lift weights because we like lifting heavy stuff, but then
Oh,
people
yeah.
just get lost in the weeds.
First days I've ever had are ripping a T-bar for like 8, 9 plates or something,
I think I'm quite lucky as well, because I get trained with a lot of clients, and like one of my favorite days is back day. There's nothing more impressive than somebody who's having really heavy, big lats. So in my head, that's really what I want. And having that community with boys going there and ripping it and gripping and having fun, not just lifting for sake of it, but actually, but still going heavy with it. It's just fucking, but all by the end of the session, not talking to each other, like just sitting there. But it's a great feeling though.
Absolutely. All
What
right. That's been
is it? Yeah,
an,
nearly an hour.
nice one there we've had. I think we will call it a day on that. And we are going to be back regularly. We're going to try and get one of these out every week for you guys. So please do leave feedback for us, be it in the comments section here, or so on that note, please like and subscribe to the channel. That would help us. And if you want to leave comments for anything, any suggestions, or you can contact either of us on social media or Instagram profiles.
Any
that's
feedback, anything.
Thank you for watching. And anything else you want to add, Sam?
No, I'm just saying, with Darren, if there's anything we can improve on, just give me a message as well. Any topics that you really want to get in the not nitty gritty, but us to talk about it. Anything at all, just give us a feedback. The feedback we got last time was overwhelming. Honestly, really, really blessed. Thank you, everybody that commented and liked and went out their way to share it. It does go a long way, and I know people say it, but the algorithm, it does work. It just makes us feel good about what we're doing as well. So it is appreciated from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, everybody.
Awesome. All right. We will catch you guys next week.
Peace.